The final stop on the road to WrestleMania isn't so much a bustling service station, but more an abandoned trucker outpost. No sign of some of the heavy hitters on the WWE roster this time round. And since this pay-per-view is Sans Champions, it is time for the undercard to tell an undertale. My name is Tom Campbell, and this is WWE Elimination Chamber Graded. The Viking Raiders are in the opening match as per. They're taking on Curt, Hawkins and Zack. Ryder. Hawkins and Ryder work over Eric for a bit. Ivar gets the tag. The Major Brothers get a shoe-in. We see Zack Ryder alley-ooped into Curt Hawkins. He hits a Rough Rider accidentally on Hawkins. Leads into the Viking experience. 1, 2, 3. It's a C. Opening match was fine. Not much to write home about. The show kicks off proper with Daniel Bryan versus Drew Gulak. This is solid techers. It's a very different match to the sort of match that we're used to seeing on WWE pay-per-view. Chain wrestling to start, and Daniel Bryan just keeps getting usurped by Drew Gulak. Like, Gulak seems to have a lot of answers for Daniel Bryan in this one, and you can see Bryan genuinely like a bit taken aback by this whippersnapper from Philadelphia. Big superplex off the top rope, big wardrobe malfunction from Daniel Bryan, and a cringe-worthy German suplex from Gulak to Bryan makes all the parts of my body twinge a little bit. I don't like watching Bryan land on his neck. No, do not like it. Nearly gets him defeated via count out, just gets back into the ring in time. We see Gulak go for the Gulak, but Bryan manages to fight through it, locks in the yes lock, a couple of elbows for good measure as well. And Gulak doesn't tap out, he passes out, and the referee stops the match, awarding the victory to Daniel Bryan. And at the end of the match, Bryan sort of motions towards Drew Gulak, and the crowd applaud. An amazing effort by Drew. Giving this one an A. Solid match. Genuinely didn't expect this coming out of the blocks, and I love it. It was a star-building moment for Drew Gulak. Whether or not they capitalise on it, that's another story for another time. That's not what we're here to do, but big fan of this opening match. We are off to a solid start. The US Championship on the line now as Andrade makes up for lost time in his rivalry with Humberto Carrillo. Fast-paced to start, with Carrillo flying all over the ring, getting some big old air off some springboard attacks, but it is Andrade that keeps slowing the pace down, as a good baddie should do. Andrade keeps Humberto at bay with an arm bar, but Humberto manages to fight through it. More high-flying offense. He even hits a beautiful disaster kick, where somewhere Cody Rhodes is cupping his ear like in that gif. Outside the ring, Zelina pulls up the padding. Looks like we're going to get another hammerlock DDT on the outside of the ring, but Humberto manages to fight out of it. Hits a beauty of a dive out of the ring. Once they get back into the ring, we've got roll-up attempts out the wazoo. Round and round and round we go, and it's Andrade pulling the tights on a roll-up to secure the win and retain his US Championship over Humberto Carrillo. Giving this one a B+. These guys just mesh so well together. My one complaint is that, is it me, or does Humberto Carrillo always seem to lose via a combination of roll-ups? Is that like his kryptonite? It does feel like it. Nevertheless, these guys mesh beautifully. So we come to the Tag Team Title Elimination Chamber match. New Day and the Usos start off hot. Lucha House Party come in next, and can I give points for effort? Can I? Because they really go for it, and just the majority of the spots that Dorado and Metalik hit are either like slightly clunky or out of position or just a bit botched, like Dorado going for the classic RVD skin the cat moment and losing his grip with his hands and catching his feet underneath the chamber and just flopping back. Lucha House Party wipe out everybody with dives, and then Miz and Morrison enter the match, trying to get some sneaky pins, but overall they dominate all three teams for a good long while. Out come Heavy Machinery next from their pod. They are the hottest act of the night, it feels like. Mainly Otis, who's getting a lot of love from what has been a relatively quiet crowd. Otis and Tucker are just shoulder barging everybody, and as all this is going on, Lince Dorado has climbed the top of the chamber. There he is up there like a spider in a mask. Comes flying off the top of the chamber and just takes out everybody, kind of, sorta. And in the ensuing chaos, we see Otis and Tucker hit a compactor on Grand Metalik, and Lucha House Party are done for the night. Thanks for the big spots. You are now eliminated from the match. It is time for Ziggler and Rude to enter, and we see Heavy Machinery corner their pod, because Otis wants a piece of Dolph Ziggler, who stole Mandy from him. But it doesn't happen because heels are colluding with one another, and Miz and Morrison attack Heavy Machinery, and then Rude and Ziggler leave their pod. It's 4-on-2, and everybody's getting a piece of Heavy Machinery. We get the golden moment where Ziggler finally falls into the clutches of Otis after Tucker goes up to the top of the pod to basically throw him into Otis. And then Tucker, and this mustn't be understated, does a somersault planter onto everybody else. Mwah! Lovely stuff. Otis is finally getting a piece of Dolph Ziggler, but unfortunately, his revenge doesn't last that long. We see Otis charge at Ziggler, who is stood by one of the pods. Ziggler gets out of the way and just pushes Otis through the pod door. He doesn't just go through the pod door, he goes through the back of the pod and just collapses by the announce table. Otis has destroyed the Elimination Chamber. Bischoff is fuming. This leaves Tucker on his lonesome to fight off against Rude and Ziggler, but it's just too much. He eats a super kick and a glorious DDT, and Heavy Machinery are out of the match. Possibly the most popular tag team in this match, finish 5th in the Elimination Chamber. Moments later, Ziggler and Rude eat stereo pod dives from the Usos, and they are done as well. We're back where we started. New Day and the Usos going back and forth. Kofi misses a dive off the top of the pod, and as he hits the ground, Miz and Morrison just scuttle from the side of the cage. Both pin Kofi, and New Day are done. This felt like a really cheap way to get rid of Kofi Kingston. This time last year, Kofi was the star of the chamber. He felt like a bit of a klutz here. We're down to the champs and the Usos. Skull-crushing finale, figure 4 / Starship Pain combos, super kicks all over the shop, but it is a sunset flip followed by grabbing of the ropes that secures a title retention for The Miz and John Morrison at the end of this match. Felt like a very screwy way for the nefarious heels to win in the Elimination Chamber. I'm giving it a C+. It was a good match. It was a fine match. It wasn't the worst Elimination Chamber match I've ever seen. It was half an hour. It was a long match. I feel like the most popular team went out far too soon. I kind of would have had it come down to Heavy Machinery and Miz and Morrison. That kind of would have, that felt like where the crowd was. But it wasn't the worst. There were some really good moments in there, but also in the match it felt quite clumsy. I feel like everybody at some point sort of went for something big and lost their footing or whatever. I don't know whether there was something in the water that night, but didn't quite click to make it a great match, but it was a fine match. Aleister Black and AJ Styles next, and nothing says no disqualification quite like chain wrestling. That is all broken up when AJ introduces a Singapore cane into the equation. We get steel chairs smashed on the back of Aleister Black. He gets his leg worked over. That's a big story in what is quite a long match. Aleister Black fighting through this injury to his leg from AJ. The other story in the match is, will the Good Brothers interfere? They're on the outside. I mean, it's no DQ. They could jump in when they like. That's kind of the purpose of a no DQ match. Eventually, we see the action really heat up in a no DQ type way, particularly when Aleister Black hits a Meteora off the announce table through the table onto AJ Styles. That looked amazing. Moments later, it finally happens. Gallows and Anderson interfere in the match, and the numbers game just overwhelms Aleister Black. It looks like he's about to get a shoe-in when bong, out go the lights. Bong, up come the lights. There's the Undertaker goozling the Good Brothers, just holding them there by the throat. AJ comes off the rope, to attack the Undertaker, but of course Undertaker has eyes in the back of his head. He sees all at all times. Turns around, hits another slightly ugly chokeslam onto AJ. Bong! Disappears again. Aleister Black is back to his feet by this point. His energy bar is almost back to full. Hits the Black Mass. 1, 2, 3. Match is done. I'm going to be really nice. I couldn't decide whether to give this a C+ or a B-. Gonna give it a B-, because when the match picked up pace, it was good. It felt overly long. A lot of these matches tonight feel overly long, and this did as well. I think it was great to have Aleister Black pick up a big win over AJ Styles. I was thinking that maybe that wouldn't happen, hence why my shoulder's quite bare. But it was a good win for Aleister Black, and obviously it sets the wheels in motion for AJ versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. So there was purpose behind it. Third match in as many weeks for these lads. It's Street Profits versus Murphy and Seth Rollins. Street Profits as the champions, Murphy and Rollins as the challengers. Fine. Some good stuff in this one, nothing exceptional. I did enjoy some of the exchanges between Seth Rollins and Montez Ford. Feel like there's some singles matches to happen there. About 10 minutes into the match, we see the AOP finally stick their oar in. Out come the Viking Raiders to shoo them off. And then the match kind of just goes back to headlocks as if nothing happened, which is a bit weird. Everybody hits the ground after a Tower of Doom, and we see Kevin Owens make his way down towards the ring, scoffing popcorn as he goes. He gets over the ramp and just sits on the announce table. When Seth Rollins sees him, Owens says, "Hello there, here's some popcorn," all up in your face. Rollins is so disgusted, I'm presuming he's a sweet guy as opposed to salted, that he eats a big old pounce from Angelo Dawkins. We see Murphy eat a double powerbomb and a big old frog splash off the top, and the Street Profits retain their titles. C+ for me. Again, it was fine. These guys have wrestled 3 weeks on the trot, and they've all been good but not great matches. You know, nothing exceptional. I know where we're going. We're building to what we saw at the end of the match, which was Owens stunning Seth Rollins. See you at WrestleMania. So we know where we're going with this, but the match was good. It was a C+ kind of good. Braun Strowman defends his Intercontinental title against Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Sami Zayn starts the match by going, "Hey, I'm going to wrestle him. I'm going to wrestle him first, lads. Calm down. Only joking. Lol. Tag." Throughout this match, Sami Zayn starts wrestling as if he's a manager, like just sort of jumping in the ring, getting some cheap stomps in. Every time Braun Strowman comes back to life, he quickly makes the tag. I remember back in the day when Sami Zayn was a wrestler. Now I think he's just reverted to manager mode, which is fine. The story of the match was Sami Zayn constantly distracting Braun Strowman and getting Cesaro and Shinsuke to do damage to Braun. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Match comes to an end when Sami Zayn gets chased around the ring by Braun, chased back into the ring by Braun. Braun then gets shooed into the corner by Cesaro, eats a Kinshasa from Shinsuke Nakamura. Then they both lift him up for a double suplex. Sami hits a haluva kick. 1, 2, 3 covered by Sami. And Sami Zayn is the Intercontinental Champion, which I'm delighted by. It's good to see Sami winning a singles title in 2020. I was worried that he'd never get his hands on anything golden ever again. This match, you're going to get bored of this. It's a C+ again. Just a very basic story told multiple times over. I'm happy with the result. Sami Zayn as champ is good fun. See where this goes. And so we come to the main event of the evening, the women's #1 contender Elimination Chamber match. Natalya and Ruby Riott start intense, but to a disinterested crowd. Sarah Logan comes in like a house of fire to a disinterested crowd. Tower of Doom to a disinterested crowd. In comes Shayna Baszler. Clutch on Logan, tap, done. Clutch on Riott, tap, done. She pulverizes Natalya in the pod before clutch, tap, done. Baszler paces the ring. Here comes Liv Morgan. Gets 0.3 seconds worth of offense on Baszler before Baszler just batters her. Powerbomb into the chain, then just starts swinging her from the chain into the pod door like she's some sort of PVC pendulum. Oh, jeepers. Brain rattling. She then gets the clutch on Liv Morgan whilst perched on the top rope, staring at Asuka, who is the last one to come out of the pod. Choke out, done. Morgan's done. And now Shayna Baszler is waiting for Asuka. Out comes Asuka, and this is kind of the moment where we were ready, like they sized each other up, and there wasn't much care from the crowd. There was a bit of interest, but not a lot. Asuka got probably the most offense in on Baszler than anyone's got all night. Came very close to beating her with the Asuka lock, but Baszler was able to roll out of the ring, climb up the cage, and break it. Then Shayna started working on the injured wrist of Asuka, giving it a couple of big old kicks, dropping her with a gut wrench, locking in the clutch, and Asuka passes out. Shayna Baszler mows through all 5 women in the chamber to become the #1 contender. During the match, we see Becky Lynch watching on the screen, back in the locker room, and smiling, knowing that is her opponent for WrestleMania. I really ummed and ahed on what to give this match as a grade. And I've decided to be the better obscure company and not grade it. Let me tell you why. This was, for the main event of a pay-per-view, this didn't have the right feel. If this had been a more stacked show, this match could have fitted quite well somewhere else in the card, and it would have got I believe, a better reaction. In terms of the booking of it, a lot of people said it was boring. I genuinely wouldn't have had it any other way. It is predictable. Shayna Baszler mows through everybody. It is predictable. Could you have maybe performed that mowing in a more acceptable way? Possibly. But I personally think this is the way you had to go. You want Baszler to be the woman that just chews through the women's division. So this is exactly how this match needed to go. But on a card that was so lacking in big stars, like it was wrong to put this last, but there was nothing else that really had the build that you could have put on last other than this. I feel like if there had been like another match, if there'd been like a WWE title match after this, or a Universal title match after this, or something else, it could have been forgiven a bit more. But a lot of people are really down on this match. I think because it was main event, because it was predictable, and because it was, for all intents and purposes, quite a dull affair. And I get it. But it was the right thing to happen. You have to have Shayna Baszler just mow through everybody to get to Becky. For me, that's how I would have booked it from day dot. So I've got no issue with that. And that's why I don't want to grade it. Because I could grade it on a curve, but I think you and I would disagree forever on the curve. So I'm not going to grade it. There you go. I am going to grade the show. I'm going to grade it a C+. It was really lacking stars, you could tell. This was a really strange way to build WrestleMania. I guess a lot of matches for WrestleMania have already been built and set. You don't necessarily need to do a lot on this pay-per-view. You didn't need like a Bray Wyatt Fiend match. You didn't need a Goldberg title defense because that's kind of already in place. But you could really tell there was a lack of substance on this show. Best match of the night was Bryan and Gulak. Like, those guys went out there and they worked something really special. But what we do with Gulak from here, we don't know. But that, to me, if you watch one match for the entire show, watch the opening match. For wrestling quality, watch the opening match. My advice. C+ for Elimination Chamber. Let's get back in the car. Let's get ourselves to the Raymond James Stadium. WrestleMania is round the corner. Love you, bye.